In the heart of Eurasia, amidst the endless steppes where the wind sings of bygone centuries, roamed a people whose name inspired awe and terror, the Scythians. They were peerless horsemen and archers. Their art, crafted in the famous animal style, still captures the imagination today. But behind the gleam of their gold and the fury of their warriors lay rituals so brutal and grand they seem like fiction. Over 2,000 years ago, the Greek historian Herodotus, the father of history, recorded an account of one of the most shocking funerary rites of antiquity. A story of how the Scythians bid farewell to their kings. For centuries, his words were considered an exaggeration, a dark tale meant to portray the Nomads as savage barbarians. But what if he was telling the truth? It all begins with the death of a king. For the Scythians, this is not merely the end of a ruler's life, but the start of a complex and bloody journey into the afterlife. Herodotus, with the precision of a chronicler, describes the first steps.
When a Scythian king dies, they dig a large square grave. They take the king's corpse, and having opened the belly and cleaned out the inside, fill the cavity with a preparation of chopped cypress, frankincense, parsley seed, and anise seed, after which they sew up the opening. Then they enclose the body in wax.
This is not simple embalming. It is the transformation of a mortal ruler into an eternal symbol, preparing him for a journey on which he will not be alone. The embalmed body is placed on a wagon, and the most gruesome stage of the ritual begins, the funeral procession. The wagon carrying the king's body travels through all the tribes under his rule, and upon seeing their deceased ruler, every man is required to perform an act of mourning that seems unthinkable today.
Every man must sever a piece of his ear, cut his hair short, make a cut all the way around his arm, make a hole in his forehead and nose, and finally drive an arrow completely through his left hand.
This is a collective act of pain and devotion. The blood of the subjects mingles with the dust of the steppes, marking the end of an era and sealing their loyalty to the king, even in death. After a long journey through his lands, the procession arrives at the final resting place, a massive burial pit, the future kurgan. Here the king awaits his eternal home and his first retinue.
They bury with him one of his concubines, having first strangled her, and also his cupbearer, his cook, his groom, his servant, his messenger, and his horses. All of them they strangle and bury with him.
They are not merely servants. They are his shadow, his extension into the spirit world. Their death is not a punishment, but the highest honor, to serve their master in eternity. When the last bodies are laid to rest, a huge mound of earth is raised over the grave, a kurgan that will stand as an eternal monument on the face of the steppe. But the most terrifying part of the ritual is yet to come. A year passes, the steppe heals the fresh wounds on the earth, and the kurgan becomes part of the landscape. But the Scythians have not forgotten their king. The time has come for the final, most grandiose and horrifying act of reverence.
At the end of a year, they do the following once more. They take 50 of the dead king's best attendants, and 50 of the king's most beautiful horses, strangle them, remove their internal organs, fill their abdomens with chaff, and sew them shut.
50 men and 50 horses, the best of the best. They are prepared not just for death, but for eternal service. Their bodies, turned into effigies, will become part of the final, most macabre installation in history.
Herodotus describes what happens next with chilling composure.
Next, the Scythians dig a large circular grave around the king's burial mound. Each horse is placed in the grave, staked down so that it looks as if it were galloping. Onto each horse, a strangled and mummified attendant is placed, with a large stake driven down the spinal cord and through the horse. Then all are covered with earth, a ring of mummified horses with mummified riders encircling the grave of the beloved king.
Imagine this scene. 50 dead horsemen on dead horses, frozen in an eternal gallop around their master's tomb. This is not just a sacrifice. It is an eternal guard, a symbol of unbreakable power that extends beyond death. This spectacle was meant to inspire terror and awe in all who saw it. But did it really happen? Or was it merely a product of a Greek historian's imagination? For centuries, Herodotus's account remained just a text. But in the 20th century, in the Altai Mountains, on the territory of modern-day Kazakhstan and Russia, archaeologists made a discovery that changed everything. They found Scythian kurgans, known as the Pazyryk burials. The uniqueness of these tombs was that they were frozen. Water that had seeped inside froze, turning the burial chambers into ice time capsules, preserving organic matter for thousands of years. What they found inside was astonishing. It wasn't just bones and pottery shards. It was mummified bodies of humans and animals with preserved skin, muscles, and even tattoos. In the Burel Kurgan in Kazakhstan, archaeologists discovered a burial chamber containing the remains of two people, a man of about 40 and an elderly woman. This immediately brought to mind Herodotus's words about the king and his strangled concubine. But the most incredible discovery awaited them outside the chamber. There, under layers of birch bark, lay 13 sacrificed horses. They were fully harnessed, with saddles, and some even wore masks with fake horns of gilded wood. In other kurgans, 4 to 16 horse burials were found. This was direct, irrefutable proof. Herodotus was not lying. Mass horse sacrifices were an integral part of Scythian royal funerals. The deep, serious and authoritative voice, speaking clearly and deliberately, like a narrator for a historical epic documentary. The frozen tombs revealed another aspect of Scythian culture that Herodotus only mentioned in passing: tattoos. The bodies of noble Scythians were covered from head to toe in intricate designs. These were not simple patterns. They were true masterpieces of the animal style. Stags with branching antlers, griffins, predators frozen in eternal combat. These tattoos were likely more than just decoration. They were signs of status, protective charms, a reflection of Scythian mythology and worldview. They told the story of a person, their lineage, and their place in the universe, and they accompanied them into the afterlife. Archaeological findings confirmed other details as well. The tombs contained the remains of several individuals, consistent with the practice of burying servants. The wealth of the grave goods was incredible. Gold jewelry, weapons, household items, and even imported goods like Chinese silk, testifying to the Scythians' extensive trade networks. Although archaeologists have not yet found a kurgan with 50 horsemen arranged in a circle, all other elements of Herodotus's account have been confirmed. He should no longer be considered a teller of fables. He was an accurate reporter who recorded what he saw or heard from reliable sources. The Scythian royal funerals were just as brutal and grand as he described them. The main question remains: why? Why was such a complex and bloody ceremony necessary? The answer lies in the Scythian worldview. For them, death was not an end, but a transition. The afterlife was a direct continuation of earthly life, and the king had to enter it with all his status, wealth, and power. He needed servants to attend to him, concubines to share his bed, warriors to guard him, and horses to ride across the celestial steps. The sacrifices were not an act of cruelty in our understanding, but an act of provision. They ensured that the king would maintain his greatness in the other world, and thus could continue to protect his people from there. Moreover, these rituals also had an earthly purpose. They were a grand political theater. The demonstration of such power over life and death, the ability to send hundreds of people and animals to the afterlife, strengthened the authority of the royal dynasty. The kurgan became not just a grave, but a sacred center, a place of power that connected generations of rulers and their subjects. Anyone who saw that eerie honor guard of dead horsemen understood. The power of the Scythian kings was absolute and did not end even with death. It was a message carved into the earth and written in blood, intended for both their subjects and their enemies. Today, the Scythian kurgans stand silently in the steppe, guarding their secrets. But thanks to the alliance of an ancient historian and modern archaeologists, we can peer behind the veil of time and see the echoes of this grand and brutal ritual. The story of the Scythian funerals is not just a tale of barbaric customs. It is a reminder that our understanding of life, death, and duty is just one of many, and that sometimes the most incredible legends, passed down through millennia by word of mouth, turn out to be the absolute truth, preserved for us beneath layers of earth and ice.